We need to nail down a surprisingly controversial fact, one that is regularly denied in the attempt to persuade Americans that there is no trade crisis. Specifically, the fact that trade deficits are real money and they matter. The trade deficit is just America's exports minus America's imports. It's a sign of whether we produce more than we consume, exporting the difference and accumulating the wealth, or whether we consume more than we produce by importing the difference. In 2024, our trade deficit was $903 billion. We haven't had balanced trade, that is a zero trade deficit, in 50 years. Now, the fundamental logic of trade deficits is as follows. Step number one, nations engage in trade. So Americans sell things, that means goods and services, to people in other countries, and they buy things in return. Now, step number two, one cannot get things for free. So Americans have to give foreigners something in return for the stuff that they send us. And that means there are only three possible things. This is an exhaustive list, which is why this is the rigorous logic for untangling a lot of nonsense spoken about trade deficits. The three possible things are A, things we produce today, B, things we produced yesterday, or C, things we will produce tomorrow. Now, A is when we sell foreigners jet aircraft. Category B is when we sell foreigners things like American office buildings or other assets. And C is when we go into debt to foreigners by borrowing money to pay for the things that we import. Now, when America runs a trade deficit, that means that B or C are happening. And this means that because we are not requiting the value of our imports with the value of our exports, we must make up the difference by either selling assets or assuming debt. And if either of these is happening, America is either gradually being sold off to foreigners or gradually sinking into debt to them. We become poorer by the basic accounting definition of wealth. We own less and we owe more. When we export jets, that's scenario A, we must employ people to produce them, and we can afford to do this because selling the jets brings in money to pay their salaries. In scenario B, the office buildings or whatever have already been built, so no jobs today are created by selling them to foreigners. And in scenario C, no jobs are created today because the goods are promised for the future. While jobs will be created in the future to produce these goods, the wages of these future jobs will be paid by us, not by foreigners. And the reason is that because the foreigners already gave us their goods back when we bought from them on credit, they won't owe us anything later. The net implication of all this is that trade deficits are real money. They are just as real as any other measure of money in the economy. Income, debt, assets, you name it. They're not just some, quote, accounting abstraction that comes out of government statistics. And they do make America poorer. And trade deficits have a lot of other negative consequences as well, like deindustrialization, but that's a topic for another day. Finally, some minor notes for the nitpickers in the econ departments and the copyright lawyers. These are gross, not jet jobs. The workers who would have been employed building aircraft will presumably, ignoring cyclical and frictional unemployment, find other jobs doing something, but it's frequently going to be a less desirable something. Also, This material is adapted with permission from blah, 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 but that's yours truly.